welcome to tonight's meeting, pre-meeting, June 12th, 6:30. We'll start off with council questions for the agenda. Anything? Where?
No, not on the agenda.
Councilor Emmons?
Everything I asked was answered.
Okay. Councilor Baker?
I wasn't able to read the email about the item B.
Yep. Would you like me to just read the answers?
That would be
That
great.
way the public and you hear them. First question was, I thought council approved an ODP, PDP for the Holly Park, the vacant land build-out. Staff answer, the original PDP, ODP for Holly Park was approved by city council in December of 1998. Subsequently, the site infrastructure was constructed along with 12 of the approved units. In order to accommodate proposed changes to the original development plan, ULC, that's Urban Land Conservancy, applied for amendments to the original PDP and ODP on 7/28 of 2021 and completed the first round of development review on August 31st of 2021. No subsequent resubmittals were received, and the application was deemed inactive and expired on August 1st of 2022. Question number 2, do we still own Holly Park? And that is the vacant lots. Staff answer, staff intends to bring back an update on the site, status of Urban Land Conservancy relative to the existing development agreement with the city, and future options for the site during an executive session in August. ULC currently owns the property, but since they have not constructed the housing in the timeline provided, the city has the option to take the property back for $1, okay? Question number 3, if we sold it, what was the price, and didn't the developer have to build Green Court? And the answer, the property was sold to USC for $1, but the developer did not have to build Green Court. Question number 4, Holly Park was one of our TIF-funded URAs. How much debt is left on the property? Is the URA/TIF still in effect? Staff answer, the Holly Park URA is still in effect. The URA expires in 2028 with the last TIF collections to happen in 2029. There is an outstanding loan balance due to the city of $520,500. The original loan in 2006 was for $1.125 million, of which $445,000 was written off per city council action on December 17th, 2018. The remaining balance is still due, and it is $520,500. A TIF is used to repay that balance. Last question, I was under the understanding that Green Court was going to be built and paid for by both the developers of St. Mark's and whoever developed Holly Park. The reason for that arrangement was to mitigate the desire of the people on 97th to make a left turn onto Federal to go north. So having Green take them to 96th and a traffic light was a safer arrangement. Staff answer, ULC was not required to build Green Court. It will be a public road and will help with the traffic movements that you described. Staff recommends moving forward with the construction of Green Court as it is a separate public infrastructure project that is not an obligation of the ULC or subject to their existing development agreement with the city. So I think the short answer is Green Court is public infrastructure. That's why it's coming forward now to be built, so that it does provide some of the relief that you were talking about in your question.
Right, and I'll ask, additional questions during our hearing.
Sure, okay. Fair
Thanks.
enough.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions on the agenda.
Okay. Council reports? Councilor Summer?
Let's see, I filled you in last week on Rocky Flat Stewardship Council, and then members of the council who had not or wanted to have a tour of the site. We did that on Tuesday. It was a half-day tour that was conducted by DOE, Department of Energy, Colorado Department of Public Health, and environment were on site. RSI, which is the management group that does all the testing of groundwater, surface water, air quality, was out there. I'll pass this around, but this is a great holographic depiction of what the city of Rocky Flats looked like in 1995, and what it looks like, and actually even greener right now with all the rain that we've had. But it's incredible what happened after the shutdown and during the cleanup. And so some of the most tested ground in the western United States, and the elk herd out there is significant. They have over 350 elk out there, and they are some amazing animals. They are big. And they're smart because they stay inside the central operating area so that people don't bother them on the outside. They are tested as they are. The herd's gotten too big for the area, and so they tear up the ground, tear up some of the remedies that are out there. As those are moved or harvested, they're tested as well. So it was we heard from all the specialists out there and went to the actual testing sites that they use for groundwater, surface water, and the ecologist out there. So that was excellent day for that, and it didn't rain, which was shocking. Special permits and licensing on Wednesday, approved a license for Vato's Tacos to join the new downtown restaurant lineup. This is the 9th restaurant for this group, up and down the Front Range, and so they will be opening soon. This will be a fast casual restaurant. They also have sit-down restaurants in other cities, Fort Collins, Loveland, Greeley, I believe. So this is their 9th, and they chose that for downtown. And that was it for the week. Yes.
Counselor Emmons?
Nothing that council doesn't already know. I attended the Sheridan Green ice cream social on Wednesday. We'll share that on the dais. I think all of council was there. And then this past Saturday, attended the Bev Capra Summer Festival, and that was a good little turnout. So.
Counselor Baker?
Really, Arts in the Park, I was immediately pounced on. Those were excellent answers, City Manager. Thank you for those. Because they're tremendous irritates for our residents. So as long as we're making headway, I think that helps. Though the one is, wow, I don't know how you make headway on the one. So, but that's it.
Mayor Pro Tem?
The only thing I wanted to mention was thanks to staff for getting me back the map stuff for the Rocky Mountain Roundtable. I did turn that information, and all council, I believe, was copied on that, over to Devin, who's the chair, who will pass that on to the consultant. I did want to recommend, if you're interested, you can go out and look and see what the Boulder and Superior are doing as far as they have a survey up for residents. I don't know that that's, obviously really scientific, but it just gives you an idea how our partners on the roundtable are deciding how their map is done. So hopefully that we can make some good ground on this next meeting if he gets what he wants this time after not having exactly the kind of maps the consultant was looking for, so.
Good. Sheridan Green Underpass was an absolute success. Only thing, and I shared with Mark, was, only thing I've heard is people concerned about safety going under that with no lights on it right now. The Daniel Baez Center was open today with Westminster Public Schools. That is for families to have resources and help in one location, and great turnout. Got to meet the family. Counselor Seymour joined me, and then the Sheridan Green What's Next. Great suggestions. Even after we told everybody 15 times, we have no agenda, next door says we do. So believe next door. No, anyway, it's frustrating. Wish they'd get rid of some of our social media that's cesspools, but anyway. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, we'll see everybody by the TV and then start at 7. There's one.
Followed me in when I came down.
Oh, he's not dead yet. I haven't seen too many.
Several the dead ones back there. It's gross. So Mr. Mack's not watching the game?
I hope not, because we're ahead.
Is he bad luck?
Yes, that's proven. The night that he watched, we lost. I gave him strict instructions.
Do not watch till it's over.
Welcome to June 12th, 2023 City Council meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Nuggets are winning, and we welcome you to Westminster City Council meeting for June 12th. We thank you for coming and would like to remind all in attendance that our meetings are subject to the rules of decorum that are posted at the back of the room. We want everyone to be sure all feel welcome and remind all that there is an expectation that no attendee shall disrupt this meeting and that threats, intimidation are prohibited. Signs and placards are prohibited in council chambers, and all attendees shall remain seated in the seats provided, not in the aisles, nor shall the doorways be blocked. And there is a TV outside of the room if you want to go check Nuggets game. Roll call, please.
Counselor Baker.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Present.
Counselor Emmons.
Present.
Counselor Azadi.
Here.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
Counselor Nurmela. And Counselor Seymour.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move to excuse Counselor Numerala.
Councilor Seymour.
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded to excuse Councilor Namella. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to minutes of May 22nd. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the May 22nd, 2023 meeting as presented.
Councilor Emmons.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of May 22nd. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to, we have 3 proclamations tonight. And the first one, Councilor Azadi will do for Juneteenth month and Inclusivity Board. When he's done, would you please stay in place because I'll be down to do the Pride presentation for you.
Are there members of the Inclusivity Board here that can come up? So just real quick, can you introduce yourselves?
My name's Rich Chamberlain.
Hello, I'm Jillian Gibson.
I'm Seth McGinnis.
Alan Farb.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And I'm here to present the proclamation for Juneteenth. And just wanted to say that at the heart of Juneteenth, we celebrate the triumph of resilience, right? And the unyielding beacon of hope that continues to light our path towards equality. That's what we're trying to do here. And it's the oldest nationally commemorated day that celebrates the end of slavery. So I'll read the proclamation now. Whereas Juneteenth marks our country's second Independence Day, and whereas Juneteenth, also known as Jubilee Day, Freedom Day, and Emancipation Day, commemorates when Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of the Civil War. And whereas the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, and whereas many in the state of Texas and other states had continued to hold enslaved people captive despite issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation, and whereas on June 19th, 1865, the Army announced that more than 250,000 enslaved black people were free, and whereas the day's name is a combination of June and 19th in honor of the date of the announcement, And whereas the speech of Frederick Douglass, delivered at the first annual National Juneteenth Rally in Washington, and still resonates with many seeking equity and justice for all. And whereas the City of Westminster stands with all who stand for justice, humanity, and celebrates our independence. And whereas the City of Westminster condemns all acts of othering in the shape of overt acts of microaggressions or microaggressions. Now, therefore, I, Nancy McNally, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth in the City of Westminster, and call upon the people of Westminster to join together in honoring the resilience and contributions of African Americans in our community and across the country. Signed this 12th day of June, 2023.
One, two, three. One, two, three. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. All right, let's see how I do. I'm recovering from 3 weeks of pneumonia, and I'm not contagious. With 3,500 milligrams of antibiotics in me the last 10 days, I don't think anything's in me. But anyway, let's try and get through this. Whereas the City of Westminster has committed to make our community more welcoming and inclusive for all, including the LGBTQ plus community, and whereas the United States Supreme Court ruled in June 2015 that same-sex couples can marry nationwide, establishing a new civic right in our country. And whereas former President Barack Obama designated the first national monument to LGBTQ plus rights in June of 2016, honoring the LGBTQ plus community's long-term presence and struggle for equality across our nation. And whereas all members of the Westminster community, including those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, and asexual, have the right to feel safe, not to be discriminated against, and to live without the threat of harassment. And whereas supporting Westminster's LGBTQ plus community also aligns with the city's objective to create a more inclusive and equitable community that promotes unity and honors diversity. And whereas the city has added protections for LGBTQ plus individuals with an inclusive, non-discrimination policy, stating that no person shall, on the grounds of race, color, national origin, sex, disability, religion, or age, be excluded from the participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination in any operation of the city. The City of Westminster extends this coverage to ensure that no person is unlawfully discriminated against on the grounds of immigration status, gender identity, or expression or sexual orientation. And whereas the LGBTQ plus community has made great strides, however, work remains in order to achieve full equality, inclusion, and acceptance. Now, therefore, I, Nancy McNally, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim the month of June as Pride Month and call upon the people of Westminster to recognize and celebrate Pride Month, signed this 12th day of June, 2023. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you all for all that you do and for being here for 2 proclamations. You hit well tonight.
All right, all together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, guys. Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I have Rabbi Heilman, please join me up front. Thank you, Mayor. So I was doing some research today, and if you didn't know, 93 years ago today, Anne Frank was born. If you don't know who Anne Frank is, that was somebody who was a young lady during the Holocaust that did not survive through that. So first, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and say anything you'd like to say before we get on with the proclamation.
Can I give a Rosh Hashanah sermon? No, okay. Thank you.
going to stop you.
My board president will. Thank you all so very much. My name is Rabbi Boaz Heilman. I have the honor and pleasure of and blessing of serving as Rabbi of Congregation here in Westminster. Occupy space in historic Westminster. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor that I can't even begin to express, not only for myself, not only for the Jewish community and our appreciation, but to be part of the other two presentations. In addition of the fact that this amazing gift is so different from any other country in the world, not based or founded upon any religion, race, or any other discriminatory representation, but rather on the diversity and the contribution of each and every individual and group within our community. That is our blessing, and that is our challenge. And so I appreciate this proclamation presentation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. A couple of quick comments I wanted to make. What I was doing, again, like I said, doing some research, and so some quotes from Anne Frank. One was, what is done cannot be undone, but can be prevented from happening again. And I think doing these kind of proclamations and making sure that we honor people of different backgrounds is very important, but also to acknowledge the past of humankind. Humankind is very much capable of horrible things, but great things. One of the other things that she said was, look how a single candle can both defy and define darkness. And so I think that that should be a challenge throughout the different proclamations that we've done tonight, that we're being a light against darkness versus the other. And so I thought that was pretty neat that was today. And I know initially that we were going to do this before, but I think that this worked out rather well. It certainly is an honor for me to get to be able to present this. My mother's grandmother, so my great-grandmother, was a German Jew who came here to this country from Germany. So I take some pride in being able to present this to you. So with that, whereas 43 years Congress has authorized and each president of the United States has declared a period of time each year for celebration of the Jewish culture, history, and contributions to the United States. And whereas over the past 369 years, Jewish Americans have contributed in countless ways in their communities and this nation, we appreciate their contributions. And whereas Jewish Americans have served in government and the military, won Nobel Prizes, headed schools and corporations, advanced medicine, created and performed in enduring works of art, authored great American novels, sat on the Supreme Court, and much more. Whereas, excuse me, we offer hope and optimism through the celebration of vibrant heritage of the Jewish Americans who have enriched our country and communities for hundreds of years. And whereas anti-Semitism has been rising at an alarming rate in the United States, and many cities have experienced an increase in anti-Semitic incidents. And whereas, according to a survey released by the American Jewish Community of American Jews, and more Jews feel less secure in America, over 4 in 10 American Jews feel their status is less secure than it was a year ago. That sense of security has eroded, they say, primarily due to the rise in anti-Semitic attacks, crimes, and violence, and how acceptable anti-Semitism and racism have become. Whereas a resurgence of ancient hatred is a threat not just to the Jewish people, but to all who value human dignity, inclusion, and compassion. As citizens of Westminster, the city of Westminster, we must create the conditions that allow our communities to be safe, healthy, and vital. Now, therefore, I, Nancy McNally, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do proclaim the month of June 2023 as Jewish American Heritage Month and encourage our community to celebrate vibrant heritage of Jewish Americans whose lives and communities have enriched our city and our nation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That brings us to public comment. Portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the public to communicate with the city council. Each participant will be given no more than 5 minutes on any topic they choose. Public comment is not intended to be a back and forth discussion. If there is a public hearing scheduled on an item you wish to speak, please hold your comments until the public hearing is called. This evening, there is one public hearing on the approval and amended PDP and amended ODP for 8160 Sheridan Boulevard, to be known as Elite Motors. This evening, City Clerk has informed me that we have received 4 emails by the deadline, which have been posted to the online agenda packet and forwarded directly to City Council, and 1 voicemail which will be played back after our live speakers have concluded their remarks. City Clerk, how many live speakers do we have?
We have 2 live speakers signed up. I would also like to note the voicemail has a part in it that is not very clear. It was on the voicemail and it's not audio in
Okay.
the chambers. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Our first speaker is John Palmer.
And I'd just like to point out, we have a timer over here that everybody can see because our one on the podium hasn't been working. Welcome.
Thank you and good evening, counselors, staff. I was in the pre-meeting and I heard the discussion regarding item 10D, and I appreciate the answers that City Manager Freitag gave regarding Councilor Baker's statements or questions. However, my memory from the St. Mark's Church or the St. Mark's Village development, back when it came through the Planning Commission and City Council, of which some of you seated here were part of, there was a commitment made by St. Mark's that they would be responsible for the upgrade and maintenance, or the upgrade of Green Court from 97th to 96th. Now, I didn't hear a whole lot of conversation regarding that from staff in their answers through City Manager Freitag. I tried to do some research on it, but unfortunately our website won't let you go that far back to pick up any minutes or audio of the 2019-2020 meetings regarding that. It was a big concern of the left in, left out on federal. And again, the developer committed to the city and the people of this city that they would take responsibility for that. So my question is, why are we taking $1.3 million of our taxpayers' dollars to do that? Why is it not falling back upon St. Mark's Village to do their fair share or to pay their portion of as they had committed to? So hopefully we can get to the bottom of that. We can do some research. Possibly 3 of you counselors that were seated can jog your memory, and we can get to the bottom of that. But again, that's a lot of taxpayer dollars that somebody else committed that they would be responsible for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? No, thank you. That's right.
The next speaker is Tom Lampo.
Welcome.
Hello. I like your spirit. So, the 3 presentations that were made, a couple words stuck out to me: hope, challenge, and light against darkness. And I just thought those were notable, so I wanted to say it. But I'm here to pray for the city of Westminster. We're living in interesting times. They're difficult for many. I believe this is a marker in time. Look at the headlines and the stories. I believe the pace is quickening, deception is increasing, but truth is on the horizon. And I can only encourage everybody to look at what was going on through a biblical worldview. We're going to pray Psalm 91 tonight. I encourage everybody to pray this over yourselves and loved ones daily. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we invite you here to the city of Westminster. Your wisdom and presence is needed. You are a mighty God. You are bound by your word, and you never lie. I'm here to remind you of your words. In Jesus' name, I declare and decree Psalm 91 over the city of Westminster. You state, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, the Most High, who is my refuge, no evil shall be allowed to befall you, no plague come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the adder, the young lion and the serpent you will trample underfoot. Because he holds fast to me in love, I will deliver him, I will protect him, because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him, I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. In Jesus Christ's precious and holy name I pray. Amen. Thank you, and you all have a nice day.
Thank you.
Good luck to the Nuggets.
That's the last speaker.
Okay.
This is Chris Stimson, living in the Cotton Creek area of Westminster. Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Councillors, City Manager and staff. Last week at the study session, City Council was given a presentation on Colorado Proposition 123, which contains many provisions that will create affordable housing through additional funding and planning. To be eligible for Prop 123 funding, municipalities must file commitments to increase affordable housing in their jurisdictions by 3% per year for 3 years from a calculated baseline. In real terms, 3% of our baseline will not go far to assuage our affordable housing woes, but it is a step, or at least a shuffle, in the right direction. Council was generally receptive and positive about this proposition, which I found agreeable. Recently, Senate Bill 23213, the land use bill, met with opposition from the majority of City Council in the form of a resolution. It might be considered that if the land use bill was a stick, then Prop 123 is a carrot. I think I got the vegetable right. Anyway, I sincerely hope Council will avail itself in good faith of this opportunity to augment our affordable housing inventory. I note that at the study session last week, the concern was raised modification of Council's 2040 comprehensive plan. Given how unsympathetic this plan is to the provision of affordable housing in Westminster, I wholeheartedly hope that it does. I urge City Council to commit at the earliest juncture to Prop 123. Thank you.
That concludes the voicemails.
Thank you. City Manager's report?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody who may be watching online. Some updates for the group tonight. So next slide. So first of all, just wanted to let everybody know that we held on June 7th our open house and ice cream social over at Sheridan Green Elementary School. And that is the school that belongs to Jeffco Schools right now, but they're getting ready to close it, and because of a reverter clause that was originally city land, that will return to the city's control. And so we held this open house last week. About 180 community members turned out, which was totally awesome. Place was packed. There were activities for all age groups, but it was wonderful to see the kids getting engaged on site. and then people, talking about what they wanted to see happen at that school and how the city should consider reutilizing it. And so we collected all kinds of sticky notes on the boards in there, and we'll kind of batch those up into groups and look at then, what might be major themes of things that the community wants, specifically the neighborhood who rolled out in nice numbers, what they want that school to become. And so we'll come back, I would project around the Labor Day time period, and come back to our community and share essentially some of the ideas, what they might look like, how they might be utilized, and then put some price tags or estimated price tags associated with those efforts. And so we're looking forward to moving forward. We have received our first draft MOU from the school district about that transfer and how that plays out. Staff will continue to work on that and refine that. Certainly, keeping the best interests of the city in mind. I did want to share what I thought was pretty cool, and that was folks that had been there and attended Sheridan Green actually brought some memorabilia and provided those items to us, and they were donated to our historical archive. And then the website, if you want to go in and provide us any feedback on things that you think this site should be, that remains open. And so if you look at our city website /Sheridan Green, you can go on and share that information with us, and we encourage you to do so. But it's exciting to get the community involved in something like that. Appreciate certainly the council's attendance and the community's attendance. It was a great event. Next slide, please. Some Westy wins. Arvada honors police investigator Sherry Spotke. So late May, Arvada Police Chief Ed Brady awarded our Westminster police investigator Sherry Spotke the Chief's Commendation Award for her superb work supporting the Arvada Police Department when 2 officers died in the line of duty in both 2021 and 2022. And so we appreciate Arvada's recognition of our fine police investigator, Sherry Spotke. The other thing that I would point out as a Westy win happened this past Saturday morning. We had 197 community members and elected officials that showed up to celebrate the grand opening and ribbon cutting of the Sheridan Green underpass. Sheridan Green, the Sheridan underpass. I'm not sure where that came from. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. And so the Sheridan underpass completed $12 million project under budget, funded through federal, state dollars, including a $5.5 million federal grant from the Federal Highway Administration and administered through Dr. Cog, the Denver Region Council of Governments, which was a $1 million and also a $1 million CDOT contribution and a $140,000 grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation. But a great opportunity to now connect via bike path, Denver to Boulder, so you can ride without having to get off the trail. And what a nice event. It was beautiful weather. Great participation, good food, good conversation. Again, a strong sense of community as we brought that forward. And so we're excited about it and would certainly consider it a Westy win. Next slide, please. Things to know, Planning Commission meeting Tuesday, June 13th, 7 to 9 p.m. Right here in City Hall, City Council Chambers. Inclusivity Board, Wednesday, June 14th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. That's here in the CMO conference room, and it's also a hybrid meeting for those who want to connect in online. Neighborhood Nights goes Friday, June 16th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., and that's at College Hill Library. And our next City Council study session is Monday, June 19th at 6:30, right here in Council Chambers. Next slide, please. No information items this evening for the council. Next slide. And as always, I encourage folks to contact us, ask questions, raise your concerns, make recommendations, and engage our city team. We want to be accessible, responsive, transparent, and certainly accountable. If you call the number on the screen, that's my office number, 658-2006. You can email me directly at mfreitag@cityofwestminster.us. And I encourage you to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, check us out on Instagram, or ring our bell at next door. Pending any questions, that's all I have this evening.
Any questions? It was a good weekend.
It was.
City council comments. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say thanks to staff for the Sheridan Green event. We got a lot of really good feedback on that event. One thing I wanted to mention to the public, because it's been asked, I've seen to several council members that attended that and posted about it, was about Zerger. And so the reason that the city is not doing anything like that with Zerger is because Zerger does not belong, is not reverting back to the city. And I think that it's important to clarify that to the public. If it were, I'm sure we would be doing the same thing, but that is up to the Jefferson County School District, what happens with that building at this point. But certainly I would encourage you to reach out to the school board members if you have some input on what they do with that facility. I know there are other ones that are also impacted in the community that will be like that. I also attended this week, Highland Hills had a similar event. They had an ice cream social at Carol Butts Park. And so if you want to give feedback, I think they're still collecting feedback about what you want to see for the future of that park. They're going to be doing some revamping of the Carol Butts Park. So they had pretty good turnout for that event as well. And then over the weekend, I joined the mayor and the staff for the Sheridan Underpass. And I have to thank not just the staff here, not just the council, but those that I've served with since I was first elected. I know that this has been an undertaking for a while in order to get the funds in order to do that underpass, as well as all the work that went into it. I certainly want to give credit to all the folks that had a hand in that. I saw a lot of former colleagues chiming in about the excitement over Facebook posts with that. And there was a great turnout for that. It was a very exciting morning. Not typically something I do to get up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, but it was a good reason for it. So thank you to everybody who made that happen. And then lastly, I was able to attend the Bev Capra Art District event down in historic Westminster, which is always a good time. And I'm glad to see that Bev's dream lives on in that event and that people continue to do that, because it's a great opportunity for vendors and the community to get together and buy some good art. So.
Councilor Seymour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple updates. I did give this update in the pre-meeting, but as a liaison to the Special Permits and Licensing Board, I get to see the new liquor licenses come through and events that come through. And this last Wednesday, a new business was approved. Vato's Tacos will be joining the restaurant lineup in the new downtown. It's nice to have this group because this will be their 9th location up and down the Front Range. And so good to see that is continuing to get traction. I also want to step out a little bit and recognize an employee from the dais. While his tenure has been short here, it's been very impactful. So I wanted to recognize that Christian Kit Redmer will be returning to his roots in Virginia, and Christian, as the community outreach liaison, has done a fantastic job on behalf of council and communicates and has set the bar for communication to the residents. So I appreciate that outreach, and best to you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Baker?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to comment on the beauty of Westminster. This is an absolutely green, beautiful city right now. It adds to the quality of every resident's life in this city. It adds to the feeling of safety in this city. It adds to the enjoyment of anyone who drives through or visits our city. And while I know we can never beat the cost that we got the water to make our city green at, we can certainly do everything in our power to make reasonable water prices for the people of Westminster so we can maintain this beautiful city. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to share, this morning, Councilor Seymour and I helped open Daniel Valle's center with Westminster Public Schools. it's a center for families to come and have resources and help in one location. And Daniel passed away, but he had a group that he had put together called Voices, and so they've named this center after him. His kids were there today, gave a wonderful speech of what Dad was all about, and it will be a great space for everyone. And the question was, can the city and a school district work together? And my answer is, if we don't, we will not have success, either one of us. So, and we have 3 school districts to do that with. About Zerger, they are putting a task force together, and I was contacted by CRL, who is helping run their 16 schools that they're closing, and I was asked to identify a representative for that task force for Zerger, and I did that and shared with council. My appointee is Gene Youngman. He is involved in our community as an artist. He was a teacher in Jeffco schools. He has lived in his home for 40 years. He well knows Zerger Elementary and that community, and has raised his kids, and they've gone through that school. So when I contacted him to see if I could raise his name forward, he was more than thrilled and accepted. They also have 3 other spaces, 3 for Westminster, 3 for Arvada, because Zerger sits on that cusp of Arvada. So I would imagine on Jeffco's site, there maybe are some places, if you have interest, to be on that task force to sign up. So I just wanted to clarify that. Councilor Emmons.
Yes, thank you. You stole my thunder, acknowledging Kit. Kit, from one communications professional to another, thank you so much for taking care of our residents and providing a level of care in that response that came across in every response to our residents, whether it was this, or this big or this small, no matter what, you provided the care, so thank you so much. I also asked the mayor if I could go last. As council attends outreach across the city, I'm getting asked whether or not I will be running for re-election. And so I wanted to publicly address that here. To be open and transparent, I will not be running for re-election. This is not a decision that I take lightly. I love my community, and I love that I've had the highest honor of serving it in the capacity that I have the last 4 years. When I commit to something, I commit 100%. And it's not okay in my personal standard to not give 100% or give anything less. So as a full-time wife, as a full-time family member, employee, volunteer, and community servant, it will be difficult. It's difficult to continue to balance 100% all the time, giving all the time. And so my city and my community, my neighbors have my full commitment and attention until the election in November. And I'll continue to serve my community as a CASA volunteer and in other various capacities, just not as an elected leader. While this isn't my farewell speech, I'll save that till November. It's simply providing communication to all that my time on council will come to an end in November. So thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 10A. We have a public hearing and approval of amended preliminary development plan and amended official development plan for the property located at 8160 Sheridan Boulevard, to be known as Elite Motors. So it is 7:38. I will open the public hearing, and City Manager, do we have a staff report?
We do, Mayor. Mr. Gurman is here to provide a staff presentation briefly.
Thank you, sir. And good evening, Madam Mayor, Madam Pro Tem, and esteemed councilors. My name is David Gurman. I am the Development Services Coordinator for the Community Development Department, and I am presenting Elite Motors to you this evening. We do not have an image. Oh, excuse me.
the Nuggets are losing.
Oh, no. Thank you. Sorry for that, folks. Next slide, please. As part of bringing this project before you, a staff agenda memo has been created and tonight's public hearing has been properly noticed. The agenda memo, its associated attachments, tonight's PowerPoint presentation, the public notice published in the Westminster window, the mailed notices, and the posted notice are hereby entered into the public record at this time. The notices of the public hearing were mailed to approximately 1,100 recipients, including businesses, residents, and property owners within 1,000 feet of the parcel under consideration tonight. The city has also posted this hearing date and time on its website. Next slide, please. Here is a map showing the Elite Motors property at 8160 Sheridan Boulevard. The property is outlined in red and is located on the east side of Sheridan Boulevard, just north of 81st Place. Next slide, please. A site plan developed by the applicant makes use of the existing layout and building found on the property. The site was once home to a Diamond Shamrock gas station which ceased operations in 2014. The underground fuel tanks for the gas station were removed, and the site was certified as properly decommissioned by the state of Colorado in 2015. The proposed adaptation of the property as a small automobile sales facility represents an adaptive reuse of an otherwise vacant and unused site. Next slide, please. Section 11514, pardon me, of the Westminster Municipal Code contains 10 criteria that are to be considered when reviewing preliminary development plans. Staff finds that the preliminary development plan generally meets these criteria as outlined in the agenda memo. Several examples of these criteria are that the PDP is compatible and harmonious with existing public and private developments in the surrounding area. Streets, driveways, access points, and turning movements are designed in a safe and convenient manner, and that the PDP will not preclude future public land dedications. For those selected example criteria, staff finds that the PDP is compatible with existing developments in the surrounding area, that the access point is designed in a safe and convenient manner, and that the PDP will not preclude future land dedications. Next slide, please. Section 11515 of the Westminster Municipal Code contains 17 criteria that are to be considered when reviewing official development plans. Staff finds that the official development plan generally meets these criteria as outlined in the agenda memo. Several examples of these criteria are that the plan exhibits sound, creative, or efficient planning and design principles, that the proposed redevelopment of the site poses no significant adverse impacts on future land uses and future development of the immediate area, and that existing streets are suitable to carry the traffic projected to be generated by the site and the use. For these selected example criteria, staff finds that the ODP exhibits sound planning by adaptively reusing an existing property, reducing the propensity for sprawl, that the proposed use will not harm any adjacent uses or preclude future redevelopment, and that the surrounding road network can accommodate the additional traffic generated by the new use, which is projected to be substantially lower than when the site was used as a gas station. Next slide, please. Staff's recommendation is that the City Council holds tonight's public hearing and that the Council approves the proposed preliminary and official development plans put forth by the applicant. This recommendation is based on a finding that the amended PDP and amended ODP are generally supported by the criteria set forth in sections 11514 and 11515 of the Westminster Municipal Code. Next slide, please. Staff finds that approval of the PDP and ODP applications would support the city's strategic plan priority of building a system of intentional support for residents, businesses, and the environment that mitigates risks and proactively seeks out ways to ensure the community not only endures but thrives. This priority is met by actively facilitating infill development within the city. By supporting adaptive reuse of existing vacant properties, the city conserves resources, improves the efficiency of public infrastructure, reduces the propensity for sprawl, reactivates areas that have fallen into disuse and neglect, and creates new economic opportunities for both businesses and the city. Next slide, please. The applicant is with us tonight and has a presentation to share with you as well. I thank you all for your attention. There are several staff members with us this evening, and we would all be happy to answer any questions that you might have about this application. And thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay, we'll hear the applicant.
When you're ready, just ask her for the next slide. Okay.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Councilors. Thank you for letting us present here tonight. I appreciate it. This is Avek Shaman, and he's the client and the owner of the property. And we've got a presentation for you tonight. Let's see. My name's Derek Price. I'm with D4 Architecture. And the team that put this presentation together, this project together, was a civil engineer and surveyor, Chad Cox with Western Engineering Consultant, and we had a landscape architect, Jillian Rayner. Next slide, please. So this just gives you a conceptual overlay of the area and the zoning for the properties around our area. And you can kind of see to the north of our site is a commercial. It's all commercial in this area. There's a restaurant to the north. There's storage off to the right. You can see that, and it's all mainly commercial. It works good with the zoning. There's a buffer between the commercial restaurant and the commercial storage, kind of buffers from the apartments to the north and to the east. And there's also commercial to the south. So it's right in the center of a commercial area. So it's a good adaptive reuse of the project. Next slide, please. The rezone is about 0.62 acres. Current landing use is PUD commercial building. The proposed zoning land use is PUD automotive sales, new and used. The existing building is 1,400 square feet. It's the same square footage. We're not making any changes. And the amenities, the site amenities, a parking lot, bike racks, and some upgraded landscaping. And we also did upgrading lighting, which isn't shown here, to light the area for more security. And we did a photometric to make sure that all the area of the whole site is properly, adequately illuminated. Next slide, please. This is the civil site plan, just to kind of show you how it's laid out. The site is in the center, a single story, 1,400 square foot building. It's approximately 52 feet long by 24 feet wide. And there's parking spaces around the perimeter and also right off of the North Sheridan Boulevard site. We've upgraded ADA access to the left where you can see the proposed ADA ramp. And then there's also an ADA ramp, existing ramp next to an ADA parking space right next to the building. Next slide, please. And this just gives you some understanding of how the elevations, the building elevations work currently, and a little bit of a kind of rendering to what it looks like now and what it's been upgraded to, and how the site is. And that's about it. Evic, did you want anything to add?
If you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
How many cars will you be able to park on here to sell?
We're gonna park about 30 cars. It's safely, so it doesn't block any entrance or exits. So it's not gonna be too crowded.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public here that wants to comment on this hearing?
We have one person signed up, and that's John Palmer.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening again, councilors and staff. I'm not here to oppose Elite Motors in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to bring forward that during the public hearing, there was great concern about them being good neighbors, referencing traffic on 81st. And as you'll see from the pictures I've provided from you, this was recently brought to my attention. These pictures were shot Saturday. Hopefully they can be a good neighbor and get this taken care of. It's been like that for an excess of about 65, 70 days now. So again, not a problem with them being there. They just need to be a good neighbor. And by what you see in these pictures, that's not being a good neighbor. So that's all I really have to say is hopefully we can get this taken care of, or that if this gets approved tonight, it will get taken care of. And the last couple photos show that obviously someone's living in that little building that's about the third picture from the end. So I don't know what's going on in there, but certainly it can't be good or safe. So if we could get this taken care of in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any other questions? Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hands.
It's all right, not a problem. That's one of the things I want to do. It's hard to maintain a building. We go out there, we paint it all the time, and then they come back and graffiti again. And the homeless person living in that storage unit got there last week. He got kicked out, police officers took him over. I stopped actually on the way here, and guess what I found there again? Same guy. I asked him politely, just pack your stuff, leave. It's hard to maintain property when you're not there. There's no lights at night. It's been abandoned for 9 years. So it's really hard to keep it in shape. I understand his concerns. It's going to be definitely 100% better than what it is right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody before I close? I close the public hearing, and do we have a motion? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the amended preliminary development plan for the subject property known as Block 1, Lot 2 of West 81st Place and Sheridan Boulevard Plan Unit Development. This recommendation is based on the finding that the amended preliminary development plan is generally supported by the criteria set forth in Section 11-5-14 of the Westminster Municipal Code.
Councilor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10A2. Is there any further discussion? Mayor Pro Tem?
I just wanted to quickly say that I'm excited to see something going in here for the reasons that the applicant mentioned. I know that we've seen problems with that building since it went vacant, and some other, it's not different than a lot of the properties we see go vacant in the city. Then they become targets for vandalism or homeless in some cases. So I'm excited to see that we were able to find something that makes sense and works for that area, because I think it'll make it look nicer. So,
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Counselor Baker.
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
And Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10A3. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the amended official development plan for the subject property known as Block 1, Lot 2 of West 81st Place and Sheridan Boulevard Plan Unit Development. This recommendation is based on a finding that the amended official development plan is generally supported by criteria set forth in Section 11-5-15 of the Westminster Municipal Code.
Councilor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10A3. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
And Counselor Baker.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
Thank you for being here tonight. That brings us to item 10B, Councilor's Bill number 32. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Council Bill number 32 on first reading to approve amendments to section 11-11-8 and 11-11-16 of the Westminster Municipal Code to update references to the comprehensive plan within the sign regulations.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Counselor's Bill number 32. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes?
And Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item C, move to adopt Resolution 17. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 17, authorizing the city manager to execute the proposed agreement between the City of Westminster and the Westminster Police Officers Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 25, along with the proposed 2024 non-exempt police sworn pay plan effective January 1st of 2024.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 17. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
And Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10D. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the city manager to award and execute a contract with Goodland Construction, Inc. in the amount of $1,197,025 plus a contingency in the amount of $120,000, not to exceed $1,317,025 for the Green Court Rehabilitation Project.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to execute a construction contract on item 10D. No, sorry, I'm ahead of, is that the one we're on?
Mhm.
I didn't cross off the last one, sorry, so I've got too many things going. Item 10D, is there any further discussion? Counselor Baker?
Yes, I'd like to find out, in the original incarnation of this back in 96, 97, 98, who was really supposed to build Green Court?
Mayor, I'll invite up, if it's okay, our Community Development Director, Dave Downing. He's been around a long time, but I'm not so sure his memory will go back to the mid-'90s, so we'll see.
I can remember that far back. Yes, sir. The construction of Green Court and all infrastructure on the entire Holly Park site was to be completed by the original developer.
Okay, and is that really typical for the city of Westminster? Like, I know there was a subdivision just up Sheridan, about 107th, right, between an existing thing and the Big Dry Creek that was done?
Between 100 and, you're talking about on the east side, or?
Right, it's on the east side of Sheridan, starting on the north at Big Dry Creek and moving up the hill
To
like 108th or whatever
yeah,
that
that was
street
a
is.
filing of Legacy Ridge, correct?
Yeah, I forget exactly. It's-
Correct. And I'm sorry, repeat the question again? What?
And who built the roads and really all of the infrastructure there, and then turned it over to the city for no charge?
That would have been the developer.
Okay. And isn't this pretty typical that, like at the Uplands, isn't the Uplands going to build all their streets and infrastructure and build them to city standards and turn them over to the city?
That's correct.
Okay. So it wasn't done in this case.
Correct.
Okay.
The-
And what were the conditions of the city ending up owning this property?
That original developer either went bankrupt or just refused to do any work beyond very small amount of public improvements and sale of about 10 lots or so.
Okay, and how did we end up owning the property?
Through a foreclosure, if I'm not mistaken.
So the property went into bankruptcy,
Correct.
okay, and then did the city go to the bankruptcy auction well, I'm sure it was probably a lien option when the bank foreclosed on any lien it held on the property, and then it was sold in Adams County at a lien auction, right?
Couldn't tell you the details, sir. Don't know the financial details.
So we don't know how we ended up owning the property?
I couldn't tell you the details of exactly how we ended up owning it.
Okay, why did we turn it into a URA?
I apologize, Councilor Baker. I couldn't discuss financial details.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, all I can ask you is if you know, and if you don't know, you don't know.
I don't know.
It just, I find this very disturbing, how we don't seem to be following any of our own rules for the development of a property where we require the developers to build the property. Okay, and it's my understanding, according to the memo, that the property was sold to the Urban Land Conservancy for $1.
Correct. That was after multiple attempts that the city did to try to find a developer to take over the property to complete the development. The reason only portion of the property was fully developed was the project was phased. And so, and that's common to have a development phased. And so that front portion out toward Federal Boulevard, we had no recourse on that other than through the foreclosure. But city attempted several times to try to find a developer, and nobody would take it on. There wasn't enough. They just couldn't make it pencil out. There was too much remaining public infrastructure versus the relatively small number of developable lots that they would yield from that.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Yes, sir.
I believe that developer went bankrupt and to jail.
I think you're correct. And Mayor, I think I have a little additional information, which is, I think the city acquired the remainder of the development under threat of condemnation, and that we acquired it, and the bankruptcy was in effect, and I think we took it subject to some debt, which is, I think, why we have debt still on the books from the acquisition. So that the $500,000 that is still on the books of the city, I think is as a result of the acquisition that was undertaken because the development was only partially completed. So there were 12 units finished. The remainder of the units were incomplete, and they were sort of an attractive nuisance. And the city felt that it had to act because there was a partially constructed development. And I think the city then demolished the partially built structures, if I'm not mistaken.
There were a few partially built residences out there that were not built to code and were deemed to be hazard, and the city condemned them, and yes, they have been removed.
There were, the ones that even were good had some defaults that normally you bring in
Absolutely.
your developer and they fix, and that person was long gone. So we helped some of those so that they could just stay in their homes.
It's been a bad situation ever since the first people moved in. Yes, ma'am, you're correct. Yes, it's a little over $500,000 of debt that's still owed there, and my understanding is that's being paid through the URA.
Anything else? Mr. Baker?
How many lots are really developable?
Are you saying still left to be developed?
Right. We know there are 12 finished townhomes on it, but there's many developable lots left.
Not specifically, I just know that it's still the giant separate I guess we don't have an exact number, but if I were to speculate, it looks like there's at least 20 lots.
In terms of additional units?
Yes.
Yeah, we could get that information from the original development application.
So it isn't platted? This land is not platted?
I don't believe it's platted into lots yet, that front part. I believe only that first phase was platted, if I'm not mistaken. The rest is just platted into one large lot.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to get at is there must be a value to this, which is more than $1.
Yes, sir, that'd be correct.
Okay. Well, if we build this street, aren't we giving whoever owns the property $1.3 million subsidy? Isn't that effectively what we're doing? If every other developer has to build their own street, but in this case, we're going to build the street for them, aren't we giving a subsidy of $1.3 million?
Absolutely, absolutely. That would normally be the responsibility of a developer of the property. And yes, sir, we're giving, I don't know if subsidy is the right word, but we're picking up an expense that would normally be that of a developer of the property.
Okay, and yet we're not sure of how many plotted lots, if any, there are. Platted lots, oh my goodness.
Can't tell you how many there are, but we could find that out if that's something.
Well, I just find it in. I don't understand how we could have tried to sell this piece of property to a really developer without knowing. I think these are pretty fundamental questions and answers about the property.
Well,
and if we don't even know what we were selling, that's.
Well, certainly, sir, with the people on staff who are trying to sell the property over the course of the past 15 years or so, certainly we could tell how many lots could fit on it. I just don't happen to know myself.
Okay. How many times has this come to council? This really dilemma?
I don't know.
Because I don't remember.
You mean other instances similar to this, or you mean this one?
I'm talking about on this piece of property.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Mayor Pro Tem?
So we had some questions from the public about this and I don't know that anybody besides me who was here during St. Mark. And I don't recall St. Mark. I recall it being a talking point, but I recall that road being more of a talking point when the Urban Land Conservancy came in and council decided to make that deal with them. But I do recall it being a partnership between the city, where the city was picking part of that up because they were going to be doing some sort of affordable, which was land banking of some sort. And there was a lot of questions, but I mean, it never went beyond, hey, we're going to make this deal, and then COVID happened, and I don't believe they ever came with details. But that's my recollection. So I want to make sure if, at least the road part, and I did pull up some of the meetings from the St. Mark's hearing, and I don't see anything where they were committing to do anything with that road. But I want to make sure that we answer that concern before we vote on it. But that's my recollection of it.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem and councilors, I certainly don't know all the history here. I know that our staff, has done its due diligence. The question at hand here is do we want to build the road and pay $1.3 million to fix a problem that's been in the community for 15 plus years without having access between 96th and 97th? So that's really the question that's at hand. As far as we don't have, to our knowledge, any written document that would suggest that there's supposed to be some kind of cost sharing here. We're not aware of it, and we certainly weren't able to find anything like that. People's memories, are exactly that, their memories, so.
Well, that's all. I just want to make sure, and I was
Yeah.
pretty sure through the pre-meeting that was the answer we got, but
Right.
I wanted to make sure that it was on the record addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give at least my take on it, because I think that in my time on council, and certainly I think the mayor probably has seen this too, and I know some of the prior colleagues I've worked with had mentioned this was always used as an example of how we stay out of trouble as a city and making sure that people do hold up to their responsibilities, because it's something that not just the city, but residents got burned on. And so for me, this is a case of you had residents who got burnt by a bad developer, and not unlike things like Knox Court, where we've decided we were going to step up and take cost because it's the right thing to do for our residents. That's how I see this. Same with, if you look at what was done with St. Mark's, we did allow development there. And I can say nobody on this council approved that, because I know being here, I voted against it, but we did do that as a city. And that has certainly, that street needs to be accessible and safe and done, in my opinion. So for those reasons, I will be supporting this. But I do appreciate what points and the lesson that we've learned that Councilor Baker is getting to, and certainly hope that the city doesn't fall into that again in the future, because that is a lot of taxpayer dollars that, probably should have went to a developer to do right in the first place.
Councilor Seymour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just a quick search too. Adams County Assessor has 29 parcels listed. So, but I do recall the presentation by ULC on that, and they were looking at rearranging some of that. So that's just parcels that the county is identifying at this point. And so the number I believe that they were looking at was higher than that, but that's been 3+ years for that presentation. So just adding a little more information that I had.
Councilor Baker?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Seymour. That got directly to what I was moving towards. Right now, the city has $1,250,000 in it from what we took over. We've already written half of that away. There is no way that the URA, through its TIF, is going to repay really any of this debt, because by the time the buildings get built, there's only going to be 2 or 3 years of effective increment to fund it, and it's certainly not going to pay off $500,000 worth of debt. And in light of the fact that we haven't discussed this before, because I think bringing up Knox Court is absolutely valid, absolutely valid. And we wrestled with that for several months before and we even explored different funding avenues for that before we finally took the steps we had, sort of as a last resort, the last option open to council. I would like to explore other things with Green Court. Doesn't mean that it's not important, because it is. But it's been 20 years. And if we take a few months to look at all aspects of it, including who pays and how much funding and everything else like that, because I think this is I think we should rethink our contract with ULC in light of this. I think all those things should be on the table. So I'd like to move that we table this for right now.
Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem? No. I don't hear a second for that motion, so it dies. That brings us back to the original motion. Mayor Pro Tem?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
If we table this, what is the time? Do we know a timeline as far as when we can accomplish this roadway? If we wait until August for a council update on Holly Park, are we able to switch around projects, shift projects, so that maybe this is postponed until August or September?
Yeah, if I could have Community Development Director Downing come up. I don't have an appreciation for time and the rest of the schedule.
The current bid we have from Goodland Construction will expire in less than 90 days. I think it's safe to say that, less than 90 days. That doesn't mean it can't be rebid, of course, at any time.
Okay.
We don't suffer a penalty if we're unable to award the contract to Goodland Construction, other than the time we've spent putting the bid together.
Okay. That's helpful to understand. So 90-day, that's about August, September. Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I appreciate the thought of it. I guess for me, I'm probably somewhere in the middle where I do want to reevaluate what's going on with the development. However, the road, in my mind, you could change it, but to the point of how many years those residents have put up with that, and now we've added additional residents who that was a concern, and there was talk through all this of the city doing that road. And so I feel like I'd like to move forward with the road, but I agree with Councilor Baker. I would like, and it sounds like that is coming back to us, but I do think it makes sense for us to reevaluate, because that's been a couple years since we made that deal, and they haven't had anything come forward. And so, in this market, I have to imagine maybe we would be able to find a developer who can make something work there. So that's just where I sit.
Councillor Baker?
I would imagine that we can get the answers to those questions in 4 weeks, can't we? Which would be well within the 90-day timeframe. Because because we should do it as a package. We should buy the land back from ULC for $1. We should get someone who can evaluate, and we could lose money on this, but we certainly have other options. We certainly have that grant that we get every year that we're evaluating, that we're going to have a meeting right now. What's the grant we're doing on the 20th of June? Community block grant, right? Yeah, we're doing community block grant, and that's like $500,000. And as long as this falls into the overall thing, maybe we can use some of those funds for this. So I think there's all kinds of things we can look at, beginning with getting a better price for the property, and then using other sources of funds. Because I agree with the Mayor Pro Tem, and we do have an obligation to the people who live in the city, and sometimes we have to use public funds to make good on those obligations. But I think I'll be happy to amend my motion to table for 4 weeks.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
A motion's been made to table this issue for 4 weeks. Second with Councillor Seymour.
Can I ask a quick question to staff? Before I decide if I would support that. Like with the CDBG funds, that has to be certain areas that qualify for that. I don't know that that area would qualify for those kind of funds.
Mayor Pro Tem, I don't think we have the right people in the room to answer that question. Again, this is about building the road. We got the people here to build a road and solve a community problem. What happens to that future development? I don't know. I would offer that a road in front of, that open space and that land makes it much more desirable to a developer to develop. And so, the question is do we, spend the money, we invest, we solve a problem, and we move this project forward while we have a viable bid on the table, or do we wait 4 weeks, see where we're at? Maybe we've got good information, maybe we don't have good information by that time. So up to the council at this point.
Councillor Zadi?
I just want to second what City Manager just said. I think that's what we're talking about here. It's the road. I think it would make it more desirable. So that's why I will be supporting this.
Seeing no other discussion, can we have a motion on the amendment? A vote on the amendment, sorry.
Mayor McNally,
No.
Councillor Seymour,
Yes.
you're You're voting on the
amendment to make it go for 4 more weeks.
I'm sorry, I said Counselor Seymour, didn't I?
Clarification, aren't we voting on the motion to table?
Yes.
The amendment.
Okay. Okay, let me, Counselor Seymour, you said yes?
Correct.
Thank you. Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott?
No.
Counselor Emmons?
Well, it looks like I'm the deciding factor. I'm in between on this. I think that this is an opportunity for us to look at a deeper look into the Holly Park in its entirety. But right now we are focused on the roadway and ensuring that these residents have what they need. I'm going to move forward with no.
And Counselor Azadi?
No.
The motion fails on a 2-4 vote.
Seeing no other discussion, may we have a roll call on the original motion?
Counselor Seymour?
No.
Counselor Baker?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Emmons?
Yes.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
And Mayor McNally?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 4-2 vote.
That brings us to item E, 10E1. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the reallocation of $260,000 from the Federal Parkway improvements from West 120th Avenue to West 122nd Avenue account to the West 100th Avenue multimodal project account.
Counselor Seymour?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to to authorize item 10E1. Is there any more discussion? Counselor Baker?
For the life of me, I tried to figure out, what are we building? Are we building a trail?
If we could have Mr. Plass come up and speak to the council and answer any questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. My name is Seth Plass. I'm a Capital Projects Administrator for Westminster and Project Manager for this item. We are building a 12-foot wide concrete shared use path, which is about a mile long, and it's going to stretch all within Westminster Hills open space from Sim Street to Alcar Street.
So it's on the north side of 100th.
It is.
Okay, and it really terminates at Sims or at the parking lot?
At Sims.
At Sims. And where does it terminate, at the forestry site?
At the Alcar and 100th intersection.
Okay. And it's a 12-foot wide pedestrian bicycle pathway?
Correct.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions. Roll call, please.
Counselor Baker?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Emmons?
Yes.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
And Counselor Seymour?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 5-1 vote.
Mayor Pro Tem, 10E2.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to award the construction contract and authorize the city manager to execute the contract with Villa Lobos Concrete, Inc. in the amount of $1,449,446 plus a contingency in the amount of $100,000 for a total not to exceed $1,549,446 and the Westminster Open Hills Open Space Multimodal Improvement from Alkire Street to Sim Street project.
Counselor Seymour?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10E2. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Emmons?
Yes.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Counselor Seymour?
Yes.
And Counselor Baker?
No.
The motion passes on a 5-1 vote.
That brings us to item F1. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the city manager to execute a construction contract with Lighthouse Transportation Group LLC in the amount of $457,949, plus a contingency of $70,000 not to exceed $527,949 for the traffic signal infrastructure improvements project.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10F1. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10G1. Counselor Seymour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the parking lot pavement rehabilitation project with Brandon Sand and Gravel Services in the amount of $1,300,960 plus a contingency of $266,192 for a total authorized expenditure of $1,597,152 in 2023.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10G1. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
And Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10G2. Counselor Seymour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize city manager to execute a contract with options for 4 one-year renewals, subject to annual appropriations for 2024, 2025, and 2026, and 2027 for parking lot pavement rehabilitation project with Brandon Sand and Gravel Services based on the bid's unit prices that cannot exceed the Engineering News Record Index each year. This authorization will allow for yearly fluctuating quantities and the project contingency of 20% each year.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10G2. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
And Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item H. Counselor Emmons?
Thank you. I move to authorize the city manager to execute a contract amendment with Kennedy Jenks Consultants Incorporated in the amount of $72,212 to provide engineering services for the engineering analysis and pre-design for the Little Dry Creek Interceptor Sewer 65th Place to Outfall project, plus a city contingency in the amount of $33,966 for a total authorized expenditure of $106,178, increasing the total authorized expenditure with this firm from the previous approved amount of $246,230, which includes the $234,230 contract amount and $12,000 contingency to an amount not to exceed $352,408, which includes the $306,442 contracted amount and $45,966 contingency.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10H1. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
And Mayor McNally.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item I1. Counselor Seymour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize staff to proceed with 2023 calendar year purchases of water, wastewater, and reclaimed treatment chemicals through the multiple assembly of procurement officials bids from PVS Technologies in an amount not to exceed $1,018,212 for ferric chloride, DPC Industries in the amount not to exceed $928,200 for sodium hypochlorite, Univar in the amount not to exceed $253,050 for sodium hydroxide, and $7,700 for citric acid. Harcos Chemicals in the amount not to exceed $145,000 for sodium permanganate. Thank you to Councilor Baker for last year setting me straight on that one. Chemtrade in the amount of not to exceed $82,500 for aluminum chlorhydrate and $32,214 for ferric sulfate. And Baker Services in the amount not to exceed $50,400 for ammonia hydroxide.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 10I1. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
And Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10I2. Counselor Seymour?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I move based on the recommendation of the city manager to determine that the public interest will be best served by authorizing negotiated prices from the sole source providers as the following. SNF Polydyne in the amount not to exceed $166,580 for polymers, and Mississippi Lime Company in the amount not to exceed $28,800 for lime.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item.
If there would be a friendly amendment considered, I think the final figure that Councilor Seymour stated as 28,000 is intended to be 283,800.
It's just zeros, Mr. Frankel. Yes, I'll amend that and accepting the friendly $283,800 for lime.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve item 10I2. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
And Counselor Baker.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to 10I3. Counselor Seymour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize the purchase of these treatment chemicals from other sources should the specific vendor listed in each chemical be unable to deliver its specialty product. The total authorized amount for the above water, wastewater, reclaim treatment chemical purchase is not to exceed $2,967,656 in 2023.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10I3. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10I4. Counselor Seymour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move based on the recommendation of the city manager to determine that the public interest will best be served by authorizing the future purchases of the above-listed treatment chemicals from the selected vendors in an amount not to exceed $3,264,422 in 2024 and $3,590,864 in 2025. This assumes a 10% year-over-year increase in the chemical costs for 2024 and 2025, which is in line with historical annual chemical cost increases.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10I4. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
And Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10J. Counselor Emmons?
Thank you. I move based on the recommendation of the city manager to determine that the public interest will be best served by approving a sole source contract with Mountain States Recreation Incorporated and authorize the city manager to sign the contract to provide 2 replacement docks with the EZ dock system at the Stanley Lake Regional Park for an amount not to exceed $130,000.
Counselor, or Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10J1. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Seymour?
My apologies if this was in the packet, but I'm assuming that these are for our paddleboarders and kayakers, since we only have one boat, and it's the park rangers that go on the lake currently.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilors, I'm Tomas Herrera Mischler, Director of Parks, Recreation Libraries, and yeah, that is correct. That's for access to the water for paddle boats and that kind of activity. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor?
Counselor Baker?
Yeah, why was it a sole source again?
It is because we are want to have a single kind of dock out there, and we already have some of these docks in place. And so in order to have one set of replacement and one set of sort of backup supplies, and it makes it a lot easier in terms of replacement and repairs in the future.
And they've got the franchise for, this area?
Yes, they do, sir.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
And Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to old business. Counselor's Bill number 28. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Council Bill number 28 on second reading, amending Chapter 3 of Title 6 of Westminster Municipal Code, addressing the unauthorized use of motor vehicle trespass, and unauthorized removal of motor vehicle parts.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Counselor's Bill number 28. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
And Mayor McNally.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 5-1 vote.
That brings us to Counselor's Bill number 29. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Council Bill number 29 on second reading, amending Title 1 of Chapter 22 of the Westminster Municipal Code concerning imposition and enforcement of restitution order.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Counselor's Bill number 29. I see no lights, so roll call.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
And Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to Counselor's Bill number 30. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 30 on second reading, amending Title 10 of Chapter 1 of Westminster Municipal Code concerning probable cause for impounding a vehicle.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Counselor's Bill number 30. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
And Counselor Baker.
No.
The motion passes on a 5-1 vote.
That brings us to Counselor's Bill 31. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 31 on second reading, adding Chapter 3 of Title 8 of Westminster Municipal Code, addressing abatement of nuisance vehicles used in dangerous activities on streets, highways, and private properties designed for motor vehicle travel.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Counselor's Bill number 31. Roll call, please.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
No.
And Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 5-1 vote.
Are we winning? We are. It's 8:37. Go Nuggets, and see you next week.
I don't know, they had a lot of timeouts. I'm gonna try to make it,